So we are still going to need communities of like-minded people. The question is, what do we call those? And does that mean they're denominational? I would say no. And I would say we can have like-minded communities that get past the idea of denomination, and that the community can think for itself what it is, and that there's going to be more overlap and more room. And how does the larger Jewish community support that if we don't have denomination? So there are
much to the chagrin of some of the people who are renewal Jews. In fact, when Howard mentioned the 4 denominations that are North American denominations, he didn't mention renewal, and for good reason. It's not really a denomination, although it has many of the other denominational features. It has its own rabbinical school, it has all kinds of other things, it has its own umbrella organization. So eventually, and inevitably, whenever people ask me about Roma more, what I'm doing, what does it mean to have a renewal synagogue, they always ask me, well, what's renewal? Some of you might be thinking, what's renewal? And in that way, it's interesting to talk about denominations as useful, the way name is useful. It says nothing about the person, but you know what to call it, and they know what they look like. And so when people come up to me and they say, well, tell me about your synagogue, the first thing they say is, well, what style is it? What denomination is it? And by that they mean, is it conservative, is it reform, reconstructionist, is it orthodox? Well, let me label in a way that I can then put you into some preconceived category that I can then know what you are. I want to know what you are. So in some way it's very useful, but in the same way that it's useful, it's also dysfunctional. Denominations are dysfunctional because in the very label they stop people's curiosity, they stop the access that people might have to an actual experience of something that defies the label, that's beyond the label, that's the mystery of what it could be to walk into a synagogue or an institution that isn't that thing. So that's the first thing. Denominations are useful, but they also have dysfunctionality embedded within them. Walk into a conservative shul and they're borrowing from renewal. And essentially they're asking a similar question, which is, given that most American Jews could care less about ideology, what's the experience that we can distill from all of these different avenues, which will become something attractive, something exciting, something engaging? That's the second piece. And the third piece is, I think that because of that, denominations will always exist, but they are going to collapse into fewer denominations. I think denominations should merge. I think that there is sufficient areas of overlap between denominations for us to begin to narrow the field in terms of what is and is not your flavor. So that's it.
My grandmother was very upset when she learned that I was training women to become like rabbis. She got very nervous. She couldn't understand this concept. This was a woman who had a job outside of her home and was a very progressive, liberal, liberated woman, but couldn't understand what it would mean to see a woman in a position of religious or halachic leadership. And I think that part of what that progress teaches us is that it doesn't mean the conservative movement is going to disappear, and I don't think the conservative movement is going to join with the reform movement. What's going to happen is that the denominations, I believe, will contract, and other places will crop up that provide outlets.
And the main thing I want to stress is what I'm going to call rigor. It's an idea that Eli Comfort calls a pluralism of substance, which is not a pluralism that says we'll take people from everywhere and we'll accept you for whoever you are, but we'll take people from everywhere and we'll challenge you wherever it is that you are. And we'll expect a lot from our students. We'll expect a high bar of education. We want everyone to go deeper and we want everyone to learn more. And I think that's really compelling, a compelling aspect about all of these organizations. Another reality of these organizations, which I think is due in part to the fact that they're newer, is that they have incredible agility, that because they're not mired in years of tradition, they can change and really adapt to the needs of the community at any given moment.
Hold on to a monopoly on truth because people wanted to search for it on their own basis. And I think we're seeing that now. I believe what we're going to see is a shift. And I think this goes back to ultimately the reason why I became a rabbi. Leadership was bad. Jewish leadership across the board was bad. And it still is. It has yet to figure out how to effectively communicate with people who are trying to live their life and who are struggling. People that I meet are in their 20s and 30s. They come in, here's what they don't want. They don't want some people that I meet. They don't want someone to tell them, here's what you should do, From the moment you wake up in the morning, how to tie your shoelaces, to what you should do, what's on your lips when you go to sleep at night. They're not looking for that. They're also not looking for whatever you think, how you practice, what you're eating. That's Jewish too. That's just fine. Because they'll tune that out also. So they're tuning out fundamentalism, and they're also tuning out the every way-ism as well, because it doesn't provide them with anything useful that can contribute to their lives. I think what we'll see is eventually leadership and a movement which will crystallize around an idea, which is how are we supposed to live in the 21st century with what is going on, with the opportunities that are provided to us, with the lack of privacy, with threats that come from directions that we don't yet understand.